the government's reported to be considering directing ASIC to conduct an inquiry into the banking and financial services industry. Can the Prime Minister confirm that ASIC cannot inquire into its own role or APRA's role, ASIC cannot hold an inquiry in public, and ASIC can only investigate individual cases where a Royal Commission examines systemic issues? When will the Prime Minister stop appeasing and apologising for the banks and launch a Royal Commission into the Australian banking sector?
The Treasurer.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I thank the Prime Minister for the opportunity to respond to the Leader of the Opposition's question. The government takes very seriously the issues affecting banks and financial system customers, Mr. Speaker, and for that very reason, when we were in opposition, Mr. Speaker, we proposed a financial system inquiry, Mr. Speaker. That's what we did in November of 2010. And in opposition, we produced the terms of reference for that financial system inquiry, which I table, Mr. Speaker. And in that financial system inquiry, we set out to ensure that when we were elected to government, we could go into all the matters that were relevant to ensuring that our banking system and our financial system provided the bedrock it needed to for our Australian economy and addressed the consumer and other protection issues and powers issues that needed to ensure that that could take place, Mr. Speaker. It was opposed by those opposite when we put it forward in opposition. Treasury even recommended it to those opposite, Mr. Speaker, and they opposed it, Mr. Speaker. They refused to act on putting in place a financial systems inquiry. So when we came to government, Mr. Speaker, we did that. We initiated the Murray Review, and it produced its report, Mr. Speaker. And when it produced its report, did we hear from those opposite that there needed to be a Royal Commission? No, Mr. Speaker. No, we didn't. And when it was proposed in the Senate that there should be a Royal Commission into the banking financial system by the Greens, Mr. Speaker, what did they do? They voted against it, Mr. Speaker. I tell you what happened the month after that, Mr. Speaker. What this government did is it initiated a capability review into ASIC, because what those opposite don't seem to understand is that it's ASIC that has the powers and that has the authority to prosecute and investigate, including holding public hearings, Mr. Speaker, including dealing with things in public and having general matters that they can investigate as well as specific matters. And we initiated the capability review into ASIC, Mr. Speaker, and to ensure that it has the proper resources and powers to do its job. Now, those opposite, in their economic statement before the last election, when they were in government, they placed an efficiency dividend on ASIC, Mr. Speaker, cutting some $30 million from ASIC, and it was done by the now Shadow Treasurer when he was Treasurer, Mr. Speaker. He would remember that. He would remember that, Mr. Speaker. And so now they come to this place a month or two, or however long it is out from an election, and they develop an interest in the banking and financial system, Mr. Speaker. Well, this government has been working on it from day one, Mr. Speaker. Those opposite have opposed it every step of the way. It's rank populism.